Good day everyone! This video presentation is a course requirement of the graduate school in the subject Development Economics for Teachers under Professor Deng Molina Taguyam of St. Paul University, Philippines. By the way, I'm your teacher, Condring Barsaliano Conciso, and welcome to my channel. So what I'm going to discuss or to tackle with you is unemployment issues, dimension, and analysis. So, our country faces problems like any other country in the world, like poverty, crimes, left unsolved environmental issues, etc. But most of these were easy to solve if it was immediately prevented. But these were not prevented, and many more problems stem from this. For example, we are experiencing right now the pandemic crisis. We are hard to seek job, to search for a job through face to face. It's because of this pandemic crisis. But we're survived because of the technologies. So we can seek for a job, we can search for a job through the use of our gadgets by means of networking, no, by networking or through YouTube or through online selling. So that's our way for us to survive, no. So there's an eagerness for us to seek for a job through face to face, but this is not the time for us to to take a risk in this pandemic crisis. So, but what I'm focusing here in my topic is all about the problems of unemployment. But what is unemployment? So, unemployment, as defined by the International Labor Organization, or ILO, occurs when people are without jobs and they actively look for work within the past 4 weeks. The unemployment rate is a measure of the prevalence of the unemployment, and it is calculated as a percentage by dividing the number of unemployed individuals by all individuals currently in the labor force. So as you can see, we Filipinos have the eagerness to have regular jobs. But what is the reason why we are jobless? What is the reason why we are unhired? It is because our skill does not fit to the work that is being given by the companies or by the government. So sometimes we suffer from being jobless, no? But we Filipinos is always ready when it comes to work, no? Even if it is contractual or even if it is part-time or full-time, we sometimes put in our mind or burn in our mind that work is very important for us to sustain our needs in every day in our lives. So unemployment is a key economic indicator, as we all know, because it signals the ability or inability of workers to readily obtain gainful work to contribute to the productive output of the economy. So the unemployment rate is a measure of the prevalence of unemployment, and it is calculated as a percentage by dividing as a percentage of the number of unemployed individuals by all individuals currently in the labor force. Sometimes they are those who are jobless or those who are unhired or working in the dump site. No? They are only gain a low income. Yes, that's very difficult for us, no? But we need to work for our families to sustain or to give the needs of our families. So more unemployed workers mean less total economic production that might um, will take place that might what we call this have otherwise. And unlike idle capital, unemployed workers still need to maintain at least subsistence consumption during their period of unemployment. This means an economy with unemployment has lower output without a proportional decline in the need for basic consumption. High persistence unemployment can signal serious distress in an economy and even lead to social and political upheaval. Conversely, a low unemployment rate means that the economy is more likely to producing near its full capacity, maximizing output and driving wage growth and raising living standard over time. However, extremely low unemployment can also be cautionary sign of overheating economy and inflationary pressures and tight conditions for business in need and additional workers. So another definition of unemployment is an economic condition marked by the fact that individuals actively seeking jobs remain unhired. So as you can see in the picture, the first picture at the top, so welcoming jobless. It is because the work that he or she want to seek is not fit to him. No? She or he does not have a skill to that work. No? So they're stuck on the jobless one. So unemployment also is expressed as a percentage of a total individual workforce. The level of unemployment varies with economic condition. So working in a dump site is not easy. No. It's not easy for us Filipinos to work with that. But because we need to sustain the needs of our families, we sometimes do to work with it, even if it's hard or difficult to find. Sometimes we Filipinos also, when it comes to such issues, no, sometimes underemployed workers, in which situation which a worker is employed but not in the desired capacity, whether in terms of compensation, hours, or level of skill and experience. While not technically unemployed, the underemployed are often competing for available jobs. Like for example, the first picture at the top, I experienced that working with my family in the farm. So we paid for an hour. It depends upon the hours, you know, depends upon the days, you know, that we're give our service to the landowner of this farm. Sometimes crews, like for example in Mang Inasal, in Jollibee. You know, sometimes they work for a part-time job. Sometimes also they work for a full-time job because they need to support their selves in order for them to study. You know? Like for example, financial support. You know? I experience also to work, or I experience also a working student like them, like in that second picture. I I am an ice cream vendor when I was in college. And that's I have the perseverance to do that work, with my brother, because uh, that is one of my asset in order for me to graduate in my bachelor's degree in education. So in that work, um, I work harder and harder for me to have a financial support, to graduate in my bachelor's degree. Sometimes we are experiencing such jobs that is a part-time worker and a full-time job. So we Filipinos are are one that is being manipulated by such companies, wherein sometimes those students that are studying in a private school, sometimes they do work in a part-time work in Jollibees. Why? It is because they want to support their studies, in order for them to graduate soon. So part-time worker, when you say part-time worker, it is a situation in which a worker is employed but not for full-time. Yes, sometimes there's shifting, no? Sometimes we study, we are going to our school to study, and after school we work in a part-time job like in Jollibee in Mang Inasal to finance our studies, to finance ourselves, to sustain our needs, and that's one of the biggest uh, achievement that we want to uh, achieve, the goals, So why does unemployment exist? In many markets, prices adjust to the market equilibrium. Price and quantity, and no prolonged periods of shortage or surplus occur. So sometimes it is because of there's no creation of it is because of not creating jobs of this government. Sometimes unemployment exists. Sometimes unemployment exists. It is because of bankruptcy of this company. It is because they need to hire only few workers, and that's unemployment exists also. So surplus, meaning if we say surplus, there's a tendency that unemployment benefit would decrease, and that's the reason why there's unemployment exists also. So there are 3 reasons for the failure to set equilibrium wages but are adjusted higher than equilibrium price. The first one is minimum wage. So when you say minimum wage, this is as the higher the prices can lead to less business, which means less revenue and therefore less money to hire and pay employees. Sometimes fewer employees, less money or less to pay for the workers or for the employees. Minimum wages also, this is the minimum amount employees that are legally required to pay their employees. Unions is the second reason for a failure to set equilibrium wages. So unions, when we say unions, like the Trade Unions Congress of the Philippines, their concerns only include decent work for job seekers and job preservation for the employed. So, next is the efficiency wage theory. So, the idea of this theory is that increasing wages can lead to increased labor productivity because workers feel more motivated to work with higher pay. So they are motivated. They work harder and harder because they pay higher. As their work um, as the work increases, or as there is as if you are trained well in that work, you can pay, or there's a motivation for you to pay higher, higher than what you think. Okay, so there are 6 dimensions or types of unemployment. 6 dimension: frictional unemployment, seasonal unemployment, structural unemployment, cyclical unemployment, technological, and residual unemployment. So what are the difference of these 6 dimensions of unemployment? So first, frictional unemployment. It occurs when people voluntarily leave one job in search of different job. These people are unemployed because they are temporarily between finding a suitable job. So this is also called as the transitional unemployment. They're quitting their job because in the first place, they only seek for the job that is suited for them. They are quitting also. It is because some of them, or like for example, the new graduate. So now this graduation rites is being done in April 2, So these graduates or new graduates enters the labor market. She may have the opportunity to enter into a long-term relationship with several companies that aren't really a good fit, or maybe this work may pay too low, or the future opportunities aren't great. Before setting down with the right job, the person is still considered unemployed. For example, me, when I was in college, I graduated last 2016. So when after the graduation, I seek, I seek for a job. I search for a job. When I was in Tuguegarao for review in my bachelor's degree, I find the difficulty in searching a job. But because of a friend, I was hired in a private school last 2016, and that's considered also as a frictional unemployment. So it's a contractual, contractual. That's a contractual term for me, But it helps me a lot to develop my skills, to develop me, to have a growth or the development of being a professional in my bachelor's degree education as a teacher. So that's considered as a frictional unemployment. Next, we go now to seasonal unemployment. It occurs because some jobs, by their very nature, are tied to the seasons of the year. So when we say seasonal, it's relatively regular and commonly predictable. Sometimes, no, for example, um, as a vendor, no, in such company like ice cream. So if it's summer, that's the very big time that you can gain more income, or you can gain more yes, income, I should say. So when it comes to harvest time, no, that's what we call seasonal unemployment. It depends upon the season. Like in Christmas, so they need Santa Claus, no? In every companies, there is always hired, no, like clown, like what do you call this, bartender, like for example, serve as a clown or serve as a Santa Claus during Christmas. And during harvest time, like for example, harvesting apple, no, so and many more. That is a seasonal unemployment. Next, we go now to structural unemployment. Unemployment resulting from changes in the basic changes in the composition of the economy. These changes simultaneously open new position for trained workers. Like me as a teacher, I I go or I work with some seminars so that I will be hired, or I will uh, yes, I will be hired as a master teacher 1, or teacher 2, teacher 3. So this time, no, I studied master's degree so that when it comes in promoting or promotion in a school, I would hired as a teacher 3, because I'm a teacher 2. So through that, no, my position will become or it will level up. No? So it depends upon the skills, or depends upon how you train, as a worker. And through that also, uh, the higher the position that was being given to you, is the higher the payment that will give it to you, or the higher the salary that you will what do you call this, will gain. Okay. Next, cyclical unemployment. It occurs as the result of changes in the business cycle. So sometimes it's because of the bankruptcy, or it is because of the uh, they only hired fewer workers. That's the reason why some of us will become jobless. Cyclical unemployment. Next, technological unemployment. This can be seen where firms use capital investment in technology to reduce their reliance on unskilled or semi-skilled labor. Sometimes, nowadays, during the time of the 18th centuries, or during the time of the British time, the time that the Industrial Revolution emerged, technologies improve, right? But during all this time, we work hand in hand, in a manual way. But because of the Industrial Revolution that was being emerged, no? During the 18th century, technology become technologies was improved, no? And that's nowadays, no? Robots are being one of the reason why some consumers or some customers are being served faster as they think, no? Because nowadays in Japan, robots serve as the workers of many Japanese. No? In the Philippines, the some technologies also are improving. No? So some goods and services, no, are fast to produce. It is because of technologies that is being invented. Innovation, what we call innovation, changes in the society. No, changes in such thing that it would be the reason to make a faster production of the goods and services. So that is technological unemployment. Next one is residual unemployment. Some of the people will not even be capable of holding permanent job by virtue of some physical or mental disability. Sometimes those that is disabled person, or sometimes they are being unemployed, or they're being jobless. That is because of their physical appearance, no, because of their mental disability, no. But sometimes we are hard even if we are disabled because of our capabilities and abilities, no? And that's one of the tinatawag nating puhunan ng kumpanya. It's because of this, no? We are very innovative enough when it comes to the changes of the we are very creative enough when it comes to the in creating such technologies, even if we are disabled person, no? So in measuring unemployment rate, this is the formula that we're going to use. And the percentage of the labor force that is not working. Unemployment rate is equal to number of unemployment over number in labor force. In calculating unemployment, labor force, you add the number of employed and the number of unemployed to get the labor force. And to get the unemployment rate, you divide the number of unemployment and the number in labor force. So economic problems of unemployment. One is the cost to the inland revenue. Each unemployment person is set to increase the cost of the inland revenue in terms of allowance. Unemployment benefit also payments made by the state or other authorized bodies to unemployed people. Next is the loss of tax from unemployed. An employed individual is not earning, so government has lost important tax revenue. Because special scheme, government employment schemes are offered for unemployment to help them get a job. Waste of scarce resources. Sometimes labor, unlike some raw materials, cannot be restored or stored for future use. Unused labor resources are lost for all. Sometimes this is the reason why, no, why there is a depreciation being done in when it comes to resources, no. But we sometimes we find ways to give solution to this depreciation, no, by means of exporting goods and services by means of through networking, through uh, in giving or um, something that might be one of our way to give solution to this kind of depreciation. Inequality of income distribution. The gap in the level of standards of living between those out of work and those in work widens during a period of severe unemployment. Sometimes it's because of income distribution, no, inequality of income distribution. There's a gap, no, between the standard of living. Sometimes there we experiencing poverty because of inequality of income distribution in every companies that we are going to work or serve in our service. There's some social problem also that we need to know. Political instability for government. The increase of crime because of unemployment, it increases crime. No? Increase in poverty also is one of the social problem when it comes to unemployment. So, dugmok sa kahirapan ng mga Pilipino dahil nga sa wala tayong mapasukang trabaho. Family becomes unstable. No, there's no permanent job in the family, and that's one of the big problem is no, isang kahig, isang tuka na lang tayo minsan. Increase in literacy. So sometimes we need to upgrade or we need to develop well our skills in order for us to seek a work or a job. Decrease in standard of living. Next, we go now to, so what is the solution for unemployment? The solution of it is the creation of a job, no, in the government. So the government are the ones will give job or work for many Filipinos, because the government are the only one who will manipulate us to have a good standard of living. So so some of the solution also, which is not bad, it's not considered as a bad, is frictional unemployment, because we work through contractual and through part-time or a full-time job. So reducing frictional unemployment, we establish a computerized national job bank, reduce unemployment discrimination. Yes, we always say to it that we do not discriminate those workers because they need a job too. No? That's one of the reason why sometimes unemployment exists. Proper educational advice to college students in terms of the job demands and skills required to get a job faster. So as a teacher, I always advise my students, most especially I'm a grade 12 advisor and I'm a senior high school teacher. I always put during the guidance counseling, no, I always put in my mind that I will encourage them, I will motivate them to find a good job or to decide a good course, no, when this student go in a college life. Because when it comes to demand course, no, that it's better for them to have a job faster as they can. It attempts to reduce the difference between the gross income and the net income. Next, seasonal unemployment. It increases rate more than any other type of unemployment. No? And reducing seasonal unemployment, advertising in the off-season, working with the dealer in the off-season, bringing out new models in dull season, sometimes innovation, no? And free service and free merchandise offers. So buy one take one. So sometimes we experience this type of service. Sometimes free taste, in a restaurant, in a buy one take one in a, like for example, cell phones, bringing pressure on sales force. So sometimes there is a sale in what we call this, a sale in the market. Introduction of novel items increase sales. So they introduce such items. We have advertisement in television. So that's our way to 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 introduce our products or services. Next, structural unemployment. As this type of unemployment exists when an economy's labor is immobile. Meaning, when we say immobile, it is something to do with how can we take for granted, or how can we level up the initial education so that workers are more flexible and able to adjust when conditions change. So providing facilities for the retaining of workers while skills are no longer in demand. Introducing labor market reform is by using labor market programs. Cyclical unemployment. It exists because of a decrease in aggregate demand. So how to reduce cyclical unemployment? Stabilization policies and government policies intended to maintain full employment and a reasonably stable price level can be used. Sometimes there's the rules and regulations that we are about to follow in the government. For in that case, we can maintain a stable job, to make a good, tawag dito, spans, in that work. Expansionary fiscal and monetary policies can be used also. Next, technological unemployment. This is self-curing because unskilled labor will be replaced by skilled labor. Okay? By means of retaining programs should be provided. So, we implement programs, we implement seminars because we would like to give a, what we call this, we want to train well our workers. An incentive for the unemployed to study further can be provided, preventing trade unions from keeping wages artificially high, and encourage performance-related pay. So residual unemployment, also disabled workers can also utilize. In some fields, they provide better result than normal labor. So to reducing residual unemployment, government can set up centers for those disabled workers to do some art or handicraft work. So most especially disabled workers, they do some handicrafts work, like for example sewing, like for example in painting such artwork that is what they see in the environment. So government can provide tax incentives to company for restructuring their organization to accommodate disabled people. So in conclusion, the more probable cause of unemployment in the Philippines is the availability of jobs provided with a growing population of about 8 million. So millions needed jobs and only few can sure provide one. The lack of investors and businesses that could provide good jobs for the Filipino people is one key factor in the growing unemployment in the Philippines. But probably one cause of unemployment in the Philippines may be lack of education. With the increasing demands of the fast developing world, it is really hard to find jobs when you are not a graduate of a particular skill or a course during that time. But this time, there's a program of the government like TESDA, that we're about to take, for us to have a decent job, no, like some Filipinos that are not graduate in high school or that are not graduate in college, so they maybe give some opportunities like us to what we call this, to jump off to college life in order for them to graduate in their what they want to a bachelor's degree, either engineering, either a teacher, either a nurse, either a doctor, and so forth and so on. So TESDA, we thank God the government because there is a program like TESDA that they've been given to us many Filipinos for us to sustain or for us to help our loved ones, our family, to help with them to sustain their needs. Through the Philippines is a literate country, it's not enough to be able to reach the qualification of most in-demand jobs because even near sales, ladies nowadays are required to have at least 2 or 1 year's course in college. So, for that, we are facing a competitive world and it's a must to reach the norms of development. Thus, a high educational attainment, which most Filipinos lack, is one way to uplift the unemployment rate of the country. So, to end my report, let's watch this video. Okay. So, wait a minute. So, to end my report, let's watch this video.
Ibang pagsasaka na ginagamit pa ng mga magsasaka rito, mga traditional na yun. So ngayon, iba na po yung mga technology na dapat gamitin at dapat ituro ng gobyerno natin. So dapat yun po ang ma-adapt ng mga magsasaka natin para mabago yung buhay nila.
Sana po makapag-aral. Ang problema, hindi na po kaya siguro mag-aral.
Kulang talaga ng nurses sa mga government hospital. Kaso, ang kulang lang po pondo na pampasweldo sa kanila. Kaya po, mas madami po yung mga volunteer nurses kaysa sa mga kinukuha nilang mga staff nurse na talaga. Yun po, kailangan ng pondo.
Doon talaga nagiging problema ng bawat municipality sa budget. Saka sa mga tauhan, kailangan control din. Kasi pag hired lang ng hired, nadadagdagan yung tauhan, nahihirapan magpasahod ng para makabuhay ng pamilya. Nasa tao ma'am talaga. Kasi yung sarili mo, kung hindi ka magsikap din, halimbawa, hindi ka rin magsikap, wala rin sa'yo. Mabuti kung kapitbahay lang kayo ng gobyerno para mahingi ka ng mga kunting tulong. Sarili mo lang, bilang isang mamaya Pilipino, magsikap ka ng sarili mo.
Masyadong mataas ang kompetisyon. Nandiyan yung unahin mo yung mga may nagtapos sa trabaho, mga nag-aaral, kailangan mo nang magwaltas ng pera, maghanap ng pang-requirements, tapos basta marami. Dito, wala nang requirements, magtatrabaho ka lang, magtatawag ka lang, may pera na.
Hindi
capital. Training goes a long way. In fact, even without the prior factors such as funding, a person who's educated can certainly find his way into the right places given the right opportunities. Invest in the Philippines, believe in the Philippines, believe in the Filipino.
Thank you and God bless everyone.